Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob, and welcome back to episode number 38 of the New Orleans Pelicans MyLeague series here in NBA 2K20. Now, we have finished up the first month of the season, which means this will be a November recap episode for the Pelicans. We'll see how they stand in the league and as well as how the players are doing so far. So if you're excited for that, make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below for more Pelicans content, as we are on the road to 100 subscribers, and I cannot wait to reach that milestone. And I'd be a big favor if you guys could hit that button below. So let's jump right into it. The Pelicans starting off sit at 9-7, as we've seen so far. It's definitely an improved team from last year in terms of explosiveness, points scored, and we've had some couple of big wins. We've had this win against the Pistons, 142-116. We've had this win over the Raptors, 101-100. But we've also seen we lose to teams like the Lakers and the Mavericks, so it's been kind of an up and down. So we're sitting at 9-7 currently. Let's take a look as to see where that is in terms of the standings so far. See where the Pelicans sit. Pelicans sit in 5th place in the West, behind the Rockets, Lakers, Mavericks, and Nuggets. And then the East is led by the Brooklyn Nets with the returning KD. Remember that. So they sit at 14-3, followed by the Magic at 13-3. And the defending East champ 76ers sit at 12-5. Let's see who the bottom teams are in both sides in the West. It is the Oklahoma City Thunder sitting at 3-15. That's no surprise. They completely gutted their roster with that Chris Paul and Steven Adams trade in the draft. And then in the East, it is the Cleveland Cavaliers sitting at 4-12. They kind of did the same thing. They traded away they didn't trade away Tristan Thompson. They let go of Tristan Thompson. They traded away Kevin Love to the Bulls. So two teams rebuilding are obviously at the bottom. So far, I'd say surprises. It looks like for me in the West, I would say nothing's really surprising. Maybe the Mavericks being 12-6. And then in the East, I would say that Magic being 13-3 is a surprise. In terms of disappointments in the East, I would say probably the Raptors being 5-12 is a team that won, the championship 2 years ago. In the West, I would definitely say it would be the Clippers in a 7-10, as well as the Warriors in 7-9. These two teams were featured in my season preview. If you can go back and watch that, it's an awesome video. But they sit towards the bottom in the West, and that's kind of surprising. Two dominant teams. So let's take a look at the injury report, maybe see if that is a reason why some of these teams are struggling, see if there's any big names on the injury report. Looks like Joel Embiid was missing some games with some back spasms. The Bucks, who have been kind of struggling, are kind of hurt by injuries as well. The new Jabari Parker back in Milwaukee is hurt with an injury. Ersan Ilyasova. And then the Bulls, we saw them last episode. They've been ravaged thanks to Lauri Markkanen and Kevin Love going down. Lauri Markkanen for a long time. That's a big blow. Cavs have one injury. See if there's anything else. Clippers have been without Kawhi Leonard for a little bit, so maybe that's why they're struggling. Maybe it's because they don't have Kawhi Leonard, so that makes sense. Heat have been without Jimmy Butler, twisted right knee. That's a big injury for them. He's kind of their whole team at this point. See if there's any other big injuries. Knicks have a few. No RJ Hampton and Hassan Whiteside. We didn't see Hassan Whiteside in the episode. That's because he was out with a torn right hamstring. But RJ Hampton's a new one. That's not good for their new first-round rookie. He was having a very solid game when we saw. Lakers are down Danny Green and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Magic are without Vucevic. That's even more impressive that they're 13-3 without Vucevic and Markelle Fultz. So good for the Magic. Seth Curry out for Dallas. LeVert and Allen for Brooklyn. Any other big names? Pistons, we saw they were without Drummond. Looks like he's recovering nicely. And that's, I guess, all the big injuries. Ooh, the Suns, they have a couple. DeAndre Ayton and LaMelo Ball are missing time. That's not good for them. LaMelo Ball was the #1 overall pick this past year. And let's see, I think it's going to do it. Draymond Green missing some time. We're actually going to play that Warriors game next, so we will not see Draymond Green. That's fortunate for us. And then Rui Hachimura and Shabazz Napier for the Wizards. So a couple of big injuries around the league. Let's take a look at Players of the Week now. Let's go to see just kind of who's been doing pretty solid season awards. So here are the Players of the Week so far through the first month of the season. Looks like Giannis Antetokounmpo has been doing work in the East. And the West has been more parity, with John Morant won Player of the Week last week. So that's good to see. No Zion or Cole Anthony. That's kind of surprising. when I sim the last game, we'll take a look at players of the month. Let's see if Cole Anthony can at least get Western Player of the Month. And now let's go towards what's going to be the meat of this episode. Let's look more at the player stats so far, see how the Pelicans are performing. Starting off with Zion Williamson, 22.1 points per game. I mean, what else is there to say about Zion? Just are only an 84, but plays way above that. We've seen him have so many good dunks, so many good plays. And he's also got 9.1 rebounds, which is pretty impressive. He's averaging more points than last year, more rebounds, more assists. Shooting a little less, but his three-point is a little bit higher. So Zion doing work for us. And then, of course, there's Cole Anthony, 20.8 points per game for the rookie, 7 assists. I mentioned it last episode. He is what we wanted Lonzo Ball to be last year. Lonzo, I wanted him to be that passing, finessing point guard who could also score the rock if needed. And he could do all those things besides score the rock. Cole Anthony, he could score the rock. 54% field goal percentage, 52 from three-point line. That's absurd. He has been a welcome addition to this team. Next up, Jrue Holiday, 15.6 points per game for him, 3.8 rebounds, 4.8 assists. His numbers are going down. That's kind of expected, though, because he's not really asked to carry the load as much, especially with Cole Anthony now on the team and Zion Williamson being a second-year player. So I kind of expected his numbers to go down. His shooting percentages are about the same. So he's really not doing much. He's just not having as many scoring opportunities, but he's still a very solid player. Next up, Michael Porter Jr. It's a little surprising that he's fourth on the team with 12.1 points per game, 1.6 assists, and 5.2 rebounds. So his numbers have been better statistically. His field goal is better, but his three-point percentage is way down. So I don't really know what to make of Michael Porter Jr. Obviously, we traded for him last year from Denver, and I kind of wanted him to be a cornerstone of this team, but his position is kind of in doubt because Brandon Ingram is the starting three. I feel pretty confident in that. You've seen him have a couple big games, but Michael Porter Jr., I don't know if I guess he's good on the second team, but I know he's more than that. I know he wants to be more than that. He's already said he's not going to re-sign this year, even though we still do have a team option on him. So his future is a little bit cloudier than I originally thought it was going to be. Then we have Brandon Ingram, 11.6 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3.3 assists. You know, we've had to see him have a couple of solid games, but honestly, for Brandon Ingram, I kind of expect him to have more than these numbers. I mean, you see the contract we signed him to this offseason. I mean, look at all the money he's making now. That's a hefty, hefty deal. And for him to only be putting up 12 points per game, I mean, we kind of want more than that. I mean, even when you put it at his per 36 minutes, he's still lower. He's shooting better three-point-wise, but field goal-wise is down. I hope to see that improve. Then we have J.J. Redick, the elderly J.J. Redick at 36 years old, is still showing that he can score the rock. 11.2 points off the bench, and he's finished pretty solid. His percentages are going down across the board, which is expected. I mean, he is 36 years old. He was trade bait last year. If you remember from the last season, we were looking to trade J.J. Redick, and he was on the trade block to begin the season. But there really hasn't been many takers, and I've since taken him off the trade block. I think we have a solid team, and I want to make a run with this squad, and I think J.J. Redick could be a very, very solid three-point shooter off the bench, so I'm not looking to trade him anymore at the moment. So J.J. Redick's been a very nice addition. Well, not really addition, but a nice surprise to have. Then we do have an addition, Jeff Teague. Remember, we signed him this year to a 2-year contract to be the backup point guard. 7 points per game. His minutes are obviously down. That's why his points per games numbers are down and everything. If you look at his per 36 minutes, he's about on par. 7.1 assists. He's honestly been a very solid backup point guard. I don't really ask him to score a lot off the second team, especially with Porter Jr., with, J.J. Redick on the second team. So I just kind of want him to be a distributor, and that's what he's doing. I wish he'd shoot the three ball a little better than 28%. But I've enjoyed having Jeff Teague, and he's also been a nice, solid veteran. I think he's doing a very good job mentoring Cole Anthony. Then we have Mitchell Robinson, the starting center, who we acquired via trade in the Lonzo Ball deal before the season started. He's averaging 6.9 points per game, 11 rebounds. He's not asked to score the rock a ton, but he is a dominant glass cleaner. What's this thing? Glass cleaning lockdown. Okay, so that's exactly what his role is, and he's filling that role to perfection. I mean, You let Zion score, you let Brandon Ingram score, you let Cole Anthony score, you let Jrue Holiday score. Your job should just be to clean the glass, and that's exactly what he's doing. Not going to put up any big numbers, but I've liked having Mitchell Robinson on the squad. He's been a very solid center. How long is he on contract? Okay, so we have a team option, good. So he would be on contract for next year. So that would be pretty solid. That's good to know. Then we have more of the bench players. Vernon Carey Jr., center rookie out of Duke with the 11th pick. Thankfully, the Hawks dealt him to us after they picked him. But he's averaging 5.2 points in limited minutes per 36, though 14.6 points per game. He's been pretty solid. He hasn't played the last couple of games because Coach Kidd was still kind of trying out who would be that backup center between him and Jackson Hayes. And he's played Vernon Carey the first half of the month, and then Jackson Hayes played the second half of the month. But I think it's pretty obvious that Vernon Carey is the backup center to go with, so I think he will be getting more minutes in the coming games. Then we have Josh Hart, 3.8 points per game. We saw him start that one game against Los Angeles when we were resting Holiday and Redick. He really doesn't get that much minutes, shooting 42%. He's just kind of in the rotation if somebody needs a rest, which it's kind of disappointing, but we just have so many young guns, and somebody's got to sit out, and it seems like Josh Hart's the odd man out. Then we have Jackson Hayes, 3 points per game, 4.6 rebounds. I mean, low-key just been a disappointment. Former number 8 overall pick. Vernon Carey's kind of taking his spot now. I can see him really starting to fall out of favor. Could be potential trade bait. Who knows? Maybe if we can acquire a veteran, Jackson Hayes might be the odd man out. Then we have Nickeil Alexander-Walker also in the same boat. Just kind of gets minutes if somebody gets hurt. Another young guy, former 17th overall pick. I mean, he's a playmaker, but there's really no spots for him right now. Reggie Perry hasn't got minutes, and Jamias Ramsey hasn't got minutes. So that's everybody on the team, as well as Aaron Henry. You have a lot of rookies this year. So that's more of the player stats for our team. Let's take a look at league leaders now. See who's leading the league. And Steph Curry, 36.8 points per game through the month of November. Wow, that's absurd. 37. I think he was doing the same thing last year. He just still continues to let up. Followed by Nikolai Jokic, Anthony Davis, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Dame Time, and Kyrie Irving, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they round out the 30 points per game markers. Rebounds per game goes to Anthony Davis, 17 rebounds per game. That's a heck of a double-double. A bunch of centers at the top, Rudy Gobert, Nikolai Jokic, Giannis being the only center who's not there, 14 rebounds per game. That's higher than last year. So the former MVP continues to improve. And then assists per game is Chris Paul in Memphis, 9.7 points per game. Nobody averaging double-digit assists, but he is the leader. Steals per game is Jimmy Butler, barely over Kawhi, Giannis, and Chris Paul. Blocks per game, Anthony Davis. He's on his way to being Defensive Player of the Year. So that does it for league leaders. Let's take a look at, I think it's actually all I wanted to take a look. Oh, team stats. I want to take a look at team stats. See where we sit offensively. So points per game, we are 17th, so middle of the pack. And points allowed per game, we are, it's actually backwards, so we would be like 8th. And we're actually averaging a loss, which is kind of surprising, but we are currently the 11th best team in the league. Field goal percentage, we are 13th. 3-point, we are 15th. And free throw, we're kind of low on free throw. We are 28th. So overall, shooting the ball a lot better, which is good to see because that was our main problem last year. And that's all the stats and stuff I want to get through in this episode. I'm just going to go ahead. Let's actually sim this Clippers game and get to the end of the month because we're going to actually play the Warriors game. So we sim the Clippers game and scouting. I'll just let the CPU handle that for this one. We win, so we win in Los Angeles. Remember, they didn't have Kawhi Leonard, but that's still a nice, solid win. Vernon Carey, 22 points in 17 minutes. Okay, I think he's pretty solid. Who's the backup center now? Zion had 18. Michael Porter Jr. had a double-double. So, wow, I'm shocked to see him at the top, but I'm very, very happy to see that 10 on 13 shooting. I mean, gosh. Let's see who led the way for the Clippers. Paul George, not surprising, 29 points. Zubac had 20 rebounds. They also had J.J. Beretta and Lou Williams had 10 points. This is just a depleted team at this point, and that's unfortunate because they had big hopes for the Clippers. So that's good to pick up that win. Let's see if the awards ever given out. So, Player of the Month, Giannis gets it in the East. Nikola Jokic gets it in the West. And then Rookie of the Month, Cole Anthony does get Rookie of the Month for the West. James Wiseman in the East. That's good. I'm glad Cole Anthony was able to get it. But that's going to do it for this episode. Next episode, I'm going to play this game at Golden State, who currently sit at 7-9. So a little TV action. We'll see if we can go into the Chase Center and pick up a win. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below if you want more NBA 2K content, as well as franchise content in general. I am Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.